Well, another enthralling weekend of Premier League action we've just had then. So, here are my three games we're going to analyse today in Premier League talk. First and foremost, we'll get straight into it. Manchester City 3, Leeds United 2. What a game from the outset. I did not foresee this being the scoreline. City went 1-0 up so early on. Phil Foden, again, propping up with a goal. I mean, he seems to have turned his form around this season. He seems to have suddenly come out of nowhere and be playing somewhat back to his best. I don't want to say he's fully back there yet, but 2 goals today. He was in a good position. Great performance from him. But Leeds, I mean, came out of nowhere, pulled it back 2-2-2. There were even chances for them to go and win the game, which would have been absolutely incredible. I think most people are really annoyed about this game that they triple captained Haaland in their fantasy Premier League teams. And obviously he blanked, which was a bit unfortunate because I was one of them. But yeah, again, City, they do sort of feel inevitable in these games. I mean, they were shaky, and I still don't feel confident saying that they're going to win the league. But I do. They do sort of seem to be inevitable in these matches. And again, Phil Foden plays like that. He's an incredible footballer. He really is. You've just got to hold your hands up and say, fair enough. I think Pep will take the 3 points. Obviously, they're now 5 points behind league leaders Arsenal, which isn't ideal for them. But at the same time, I think the way Arsenal have been playing, you take that. And for Leeds, I mean, huge performance, absolutely huge performance. Yes, they didn't get anything out of the game, but I think it relieved some much needed pressure of Daniel Farke, who'd obviously been in quite a sticky situation beforehand. Um, yeah, you take it. The performance was incredible. They really were, and they were unlucky not to get a point. Obviously, Foden coming up with a late winner for Manchester City, and it's a good goal from him. Yeah, not really much else to say on this match, to be honest. I mean, City, they did well, probably just about to serve the 3 points, and they get them, and they're now 5 points behind league leaders Arsenal. The second game we've got to talk about is, of course, the Saturday night kickoff, 8 p.m. Tottenham 1, Fulham 2. What a performance from the Cottagers. They were 2-0 up within the first 10 minutes. Obviously, Harry Wilson what was I going to say? Took advantage of Vicario being caught miles out of his goal. It was a really poor clearance from the Spurs goalkeeper. But again, Fulham, first half, absolutely dominated, and Spurs never really looked like getting into the game. They were set up so negatively. It was like they were a mid-table side set up just not to lose, which I suppose that is sort of what Thomas Frank has been used to before. But it was also Marco Silva, I think, 200th game in charge of the club. So massive for him to get 3 points there. And it was a phenomenal performance from Fulham. The second half, Spurs did grow into it. Obviously, I think, I can't remember who got the goal. I think it might be Xavi Simons who got the goal. But again, from that point on, Spurs never really looked like taking advantage of anything. And Fulham run out thoroughly deserved winners. I thought Harry Wilson was phenomenal. Kenny Tete got a goal, phenomenal. Obviously, it was quite lucky. It got deflected off Kevin Danzo's shin, I think, to go past Vicario. I think it was Danzo, but definitely took a deflection. And yeah, Fulham again, solid mid-table side. They're still 15th. That win didn't really do anything for them league-wise. But Spurs, I think it's really tough at the moment for them. Thomas Frank, I do fear for him because they haven't won a game at home since the first game of the season. And 3 losses in a row now, 3 heavy losses in a row. Yes, they showed signs of promise in Paris, but ultimately conceded 5 goals. Again, you can't be losing at home to sides like Fulham, and they got battered in the North London derby last weekend. I do fear for his job. I really do. I'm not sure who they've got midweek, but it will be interesting to see who they play and if they can get a result, because I think his job might hang in the balance quite a bit at the moment. But yeah, massive 3 points for Fulham. Really poor from Spurs. They've got to find a way to turn it around soon. And then the final game that I want to talk about from this weekend is West Ham 0, Liverpool 2. And it's purely just because Liverpool looked somewhat back to themselves. I'm not going to say back to their best, but in the second half, they were much better. The first half was really even game. I thought neither side really created much, but the second half, Liverpool came out firing. Obviously, Alexander Isak props up with a goal, his first goal in the Premier League for Liverpool. Obviously, he netted for them against Southampton in the Carabao Cup a couple of months ago, but it's huge for him. Could this be the turning point? Could this be the fire starter that he needs to get his goal scoring career for Liverpool going? Because obviously it's been so miss, not hit and miss at all, just miss for the entirety of this season up till now. And again, I'm not going to say it was a routine Liverpool performance. They didn't look anywhere near back to their best. They just took advantage of a poor West Ham side, who I thought tired a lot towards the end. And it's disappointing for them because they'd shown such promise with wins against the likes of Newcastle in recent weeks. But, I was kind of expecting this to be a game where Liverpool could go in there and exert themselves, show their dominance, and sort of get back on track, because they haven't lost at West Ham. I think they've won most of the games at West Ham for a long while now. I know they lost a couple of years ago. They lost 3-2 that really, or was it 2-2 draw, that really took them out of the title race. But yeah, I don't know. Good 3 points for Liverpool. Again, it lifts them back into the top half. I'm pretty sure. Let's just have a look. Yeah, back into the top half, back into 8th place. Obviously, they dropped down there after last weekend into the bottom half, losing 3-0 at home to Forest. Yeah, good for them and great for Arne Slot. I think that sort of relieves a lot of pressure for him. Again, I'm not sure who they're playing midweek, but he needed that. He really did, because there was a lot of chat about his job and it obviously wasn't looking so good for him after midweek, especially 4-1 at home to PSV. But that should have shored a few minds, I think. So yeah, huge 3 points for Liverpool. And can they turn the corner? So that is it for another weekend. I will put the table on screen now, guys. Let's just have a look. Arsenal, as I said, 5 points clear at the top of the league after drawing 1-1 with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in a brilliant game. But again, I think a point was deserved for both sides. Man City obviously beating Leeds. They're in second, 5 points behind. Chelsea, 1 point behind them in third. Unlucky to see Caicedo get sent off. I mean, it was a red card, but there were moments in that game where they looked like with 11 men, they might have got on 1. Villa beating Wolves 1-0 at home to seal their place in the top 4. Brighton up to 5th. Massive for them. They've sort of come out of nowhere. Sunderland remain in 6th, even though they did beat, or back up to 6th, sorry, even though they did beat Bournemouth. Man United running out 2-1 winners at Selhurst Park in the 12 o'clock kickoff on Sunday to stay 7th. Liverpool up to 8th after getting a win against West Ham. Palace, unfortunate to lose at home to United. They're in 9th. Brentford running out 3-1 winners at home to Burnley yesterday on Saturday. Bournemouth obviously went 2-0 up at the Stadium of Light and then lost 3-2. They're in 11th. Spurs 12th. Newcastle running out 4-1 winners at the Hill Dickinson Stadium to go above Everton, who lost 4-1. Obviously, they're in 14th. Fulham 15th. Forest lost at home to Brighton. They start to sink closer to the relegation zone, just 2 points separating 16th and 19th. West Ham losing at home. Leeds, of course, lost at the Etihad even after a spirited performance. Burnley lost at Brentford. And Wolves, again, lost. And as I say, it just keeps getting worse and worse for Wolves. Rob Edwards doesn't really seem to be doing much. They look like they could be gone. But that is it for another episode of Premier League Talk. Obviously, this is a huge week coming up. We've got midweek Premier League games, and then we've also got weekend fixtures as well. So there'll be a lot of content coming out over the next few days. We'll try and keep up to date with everything. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you on Friday.